Yay.
Got it. So also for all of you here, if you feel like sharing this, we will actually love for you to share it. If you have people that are human design people and might be interested in seeing this, I'm getting used to saying this, if I have a live or something, say that we would actually love for you to share and have more people here and know that this is happening. And good evening, everybody. Wow, Daniela, you have a beautiful background. And Willie too, actually. The sticking your head out of the sky picture, right? That Raul left. Um, okay. So good evening, everyone. I don't see it live yet on your Facebook, Johan.
I think it's live on my Facebook. Three
Yeah,
people, yes, are
interesting. Then I'm gonna try to
joining.
go in again.
And
Oh, now I see it. Now I see myself.
yes,
Seeing myself. Seeing, right?
yes, we are here to see mostly projectors, but everybody's here to see.
Everybody's
So,
here to see. We are the consciousness, conscious of itself. Seeing is the basic nature of us. All the rest is the storyline, the movie happening in this. But yes, it's interesting that you say about projectors. We're going to talk today actually about types, and we'll take a practical look. I like to be practical. I'm a 5-1, so a practical look at relationship between types. And it's a good time to talk about relationship. We're in the cross of, not cross, sorry, we're in the quarter of duality, which is all about relationships. So it's a good time for that. And actually, immersion is about the auras, and it's about the contact between the auras and how we move together and how we learn to, be correct in our movement. And once we are correct, then other types can be more correct with us, sometimes even without knowing human design, without hearing about it, without living it. If we live correctly in our aura, then what happens is that this correctness, like a puzzle, kind of a jigsaw puzzle, when you are correct and some parts won't fit anymore and other parts will be magnetized to you that fit more correctly to the way that you live. And and since immersion is actually about that, it's about being in the experiment and really owning the knowledge in our body. And the knowledge starts from the aura. So yeah, Ross said, if you don't deal with the type, you have nowhere to go. Why? Because you are the energy that moves in this aura in the world, this play of Lila. And all the physics, we can say, all the mechanics, the laws of this creation, this material creation, is actually happening through the communication of the auras. Um, I just want to ask people who are not muted to mute because sometimes there's noises. I'm pure individual, so noises and sounds are like can be intolerable for me. Thank you so much.
try to
So
mute
good.
them
Yeah, thank you. So
if I
good
can.
evening, everyone. And I see, some more people came in. So I'm informing again that I really love to see your faces when I talk, but it's okay if you don't feel comfortable, of course, you can stay with your camera off. I'm just informing that I like to have, to see the faces of the people that I'm talking to. So that's just, um, my informing. Um, So practical look at auras, because auras are a practical thing. What does it mean? Practical, it means you can practice it. Human design is something to practice. It's something to live. It's not something to just learn. It is good to learn human design because then you know what you are looking at. So for me, the information, first of all, for me, I had to take in all the information because I'm not only a 5-1 and a defined ajna with 4323. So defined mind needs to investigate. And I also have 8 times first line. So I'm really an investigator. I had to take all the knowledge in. Not everybody need to learn all the knowledge of human design, but if we do want to change our lives and change our relationships for the better, then everybody needs to be in our strategy and live out of our inner authority. And there's a basic, really basic knowledge we need to know for that. Yeah, our type, our inner authority, it's the basics. And we don't have to know all the information, but if we know the information, then we know what we're looking at. When we stop listening to our mind, when it tells us what to do, this is the first and foremost practice, by the way, of human design. So if we're talking practical, to practically live human design means we understand that a mind is not the authority to make decisions, and that means there's no point in listening to it, right? Because not only that it doesn't make the correct decisions, it just doesn't make the decisions. It does not. So it's an illusion that we were taught and made to believe that our mind is the one that is running the show, but it's not. So once, if you understand it that way, you say, okay, so what's the point in listening? I mean, it gives you a headache, right? All those things it's saying and can be so confusing. So the first practicality of human design, and it's really simple to understand, but not necessarily easy to live. I think it's very difficult. Actually, I think it's the most difficult thing a person can do. That was my experience. It was the most difficult thing that I did, to stop listening to my mind when it told me what to do. And it happened to me that I came to human design. I was already a spiritual teacher, and I was years into meditations and Byron Katie work and all kinds of gurus. And I woke up to myself in an early age as an experience, an experience of being the consciousness conscious to itself, knowing itself. I had that experience. But in the daily life, this is such a deep, deep, deep conditioning to listen to what the thought is saying and thinking that is me and this is I and this is what I need to do. Or even if and even when you know that this is not the I, the true I, yeah, still there is conditioning to listen to it in the practical world, right? Like, yeah, but I still have to pay the rent and all that.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
I love that. Well, you see a guy on the street has oh he's meditating, and I don't have to pay the rent. Who pays the rent? Well, my mother, she deals with this stuff, you know. Very practical, right? And
Yes,
then
the
yeah.
mind comes in
Yeah.
automatically. Yeah. And when you're an analyst as well, and when you read people's charts, and they can hear the truth in human design, they can hear the truth in, this mind doesn't really run the show. We're actually sitting in the limousine in the back seat, but mind straight away comes in. Yeah, but I have my kids that I have to feed, they have to wake up in the morning for school. So, how do I live? Well, how do we live? We have our strategy and we have our inner authority. And what does it mean when we when we really embody the knowledge and we stop here and we start living according to strategy and authority? What we realize is that anyway there is a movement that takes care of itself and takes care of everything, and we were just in the way, and we're starting to move out of the way.
Yeah, the mind moves actually out of the way and you start to live it, right? But it's so difficult sometimes because, well, what is the mind, right? How do you realize it's the mind and it's not you? That's right.
Okay. Is this a question you're asking, or you're
Yes, because what is you, what is the mind? We tell people listen to your strategy and follow your strategy and your inner authority, but it's sometimes very cryptic because I was very pissed at the beginning exactly with this. And many people are pissed because what is this? Give me a solution, right? Give me a solution. How do
Okay.
I do this?
Yeah.
Don't tell me to do this, but tell me what to do. So that
Okay,
is,
great.
yeah, that is, I always meet this, right? People want solutions, but,
No, you
because
give them
this,
the solution. It's just they can't hear it. So
yeah,
I
but
want to address, wait, I want to address what you were
mhm,
saying. Yeah, and I
mhm,
and take that to the practical thing that we
mhm,
are here to talk about and say that actually immersion is where I truly learned to surrender. And I mean, I surrendered before immersion. I was really radical in my experiment. But the reason that immersion took me to the next step is because I had this inner experience with the aura. So, what happens when we really start to feel it in our body, the aura, the centers, we start to discern what is mind and what is, inner authority. We start to discern what is mind that is coming out of what is constant in us, which is what is defined in us, which is who we are actually as a design. Yes. And we start discerning really what those thoughts are that come from all those open spaces in us that we actually amplify our surroundings. And this is what is so amazing about immersion. So, and I'm going to take that to the practical understanding of how types work together, right? Because we go into human design and we learn the knowledge and we have what? We have new ideas. We have new
mhm.
ideas about the
New
world.
mind.
And we have a
Yeah.
new mind, a human
Yes.
design mind that says projectors are this and manifestors are this and generators are this and blah, blah, blah. And the mind starts translating the world through human design and it keeps on trying to tell us what to do now in a new language, which is called human design. And it's a very beautiful language. But if it's mind, it's mind. And basically, I want to say something about mind in the beginning, at least, when I say don't listen to mind when it tells you what to do, it's basically everything that's speaking inside you. So if you hear a voice speaking, that's mind. I mean, the spleen doesn't speak like that. The emotion doesn't speak like that. Sacral definitely doesn't speak like that. The heart doesn't speak like that. The G doesn't. The G is, it's like the closest thing, but still it has a different language. So in the beginning, if you say, okay, everything that speaks in me, that's thought, and I'm not supposed to follow that, that's a very good start. And then what happens when you start feeling the different auras? Yeah. So I'll tell you a story. I'm a manifestor, right? And I have a closed aura. And I knew this before I came to the first immersion. This was around 10 years ago. And I knew what it meant in the human design language, right? And I could see my impact and I could see, that I'm getting angry a lot. I could see my anger, of course, and feel it. But then came immersion. And there is this one practice we do in immersion that a person sits on the chair and all the other people are like 5 meters away, even more. And I was the first person, of course, because I'm a manifestor, I'm an initiator. So I sat on the chair and I closed my eyes. And then Marianne said, well, someone is coming towards you. And as she said that, and I guess this person, he's actually a friend, Hunt, was starting to walk towards me. I didn't know who it was, but I started to feel like a fire in my body. Rage. Since then, I didn't call it anger. I called it rage because this is what it was. It wasn't psychological. It wasn't thoughts. It was my body on fire from my solar plexus coming up. And I felt like a dragon that if I opened my mouth, I would spit fire, and I would burn everything. And this was really interesting. I've never felt it before this way. And I went like this, like stop. And I thought that when I opened my eyes, I would see him really close to me. When I opened my eyes, I saw him 4 meters away almost. So almost when he came into my aura, I already felt this and told him to stop. In my mind, like when an accident happens and they say every, time goes really like slow and you feel everything. I guess this is how it went. Or it goes fast and you feel everything slow, yeah? And then um, a manifestor came towards me. I didn't know it was a manifestor because I was with my eyes closed. I could feel a heart, the heart ego. I could feel it in my chest, but I didn't feel a resistance. I didn't feel this anger coming up. That was so interesting. And I said out loud, I was with my eyes closed, and I said, Marianne, this is a manifestor. Or I don't know if I said, oh, this is a manifestor. And then I opened my eyes and I saw that it was a manifestor. And this was the first time that I really felt what, what types are. What types are. It's not a concept. It's an energy. And it's an energy that we move with in the world, and if we don't know our own energy and our aura and how it operates, how can we be correct with the energies around us? It's like there's almost no way, that this can happen. Maybe years in the experiment, I don't know. For me, it happened because of immersion. And so what happens in immersion is that we start understanding this correctness of movement, but it's not out of some new ideology, or concepts or a new thought form. It's out of the form. So out of really experiencing this in the form, and then imagine what happens when you go home, and you feel this generator coming towards you, or the projector, or the manifestor, and you have felt it. And you have felt the respect that is possible, because this is what happens in immersion, that we respect each other. Yeah, we have a name tag and it says projector or manifestor or generator, and we know how to deal with each other. So what you have been hearing of, and sometimes you can't like really do it in real life, right? Because the people around you think you're crazy now with this new language you're speaking, and what do you want from us? And I remember my husband, stop asking me question. What? Now you think I'm this or that kind of person and you call me a generator and you ask me questions? Don't ask me questions, he used to say. It was so funny. Today he says, well, can you ask me maybe? I'm kind of confused about this. And it's like, nah, thank you. Because it's then so easy. I can help him. I can just ask a question and he knows. So simple. Why fight it, right? But it took years. Um, and so we're going to talk about the practicality of, the relationships between types, but I want to kind of anchor it into the immersion, just to kind of say that this is what it is about, and that's what you are going to be experiencing. I know many of you are going to be there, and there are some names that I see that they're not in my list, so you are very welcome, of course, to join us in immersion, and that's what we will be experiencing. And of course, except for the type, today we're going to talk about type, but this has, it has everything to do with the centers. So this goes with the centers, right? I mean, there are sacral beings and non-sacral beings. I mean, there are generators and and manifesting generators. They're the same type for me. And then there's all the rest. And that's like a very big deal, right, Johan? As a projector, you can
Oof,
say.
yes.
Like one of the most important things you can understand to understand your type is to understand this. So imagine we're in a room all together, and then we leave for two groups, and one group is the sacral people and one the non-sacral people. And we can feel the frequency. And what happens when you feel the frequency, you can start seeing the mind. And this goes with what you said before, Johan, because it becomes really specific. You can see the mind coming up, and you know that it's now coming up because of the sacral, and you know which thoughts go with this frequency. And then you start kind of realizing this has been in your life forever. And you can kind of, in the moment, it happens for me at least, that there's this looking back and saying, oh, this is all the times that I felt like this, or I thought like this. It happens because of this open sacral. And then we meet again. And then the thoughts that come up and the feelings that come up in the body when the non-sacral meet the sacral. It's so strong. And then suddenly you realize, oh, this is it. That's that rush of energy that I feel that wasn't there before. And suddenly, when I am in my home, I can really pinpoint this. Why? Because I felt it in the lab. You know, immersion is a lab. You put it in the test in the lab, and then in life, in real life, it becomes so clear. Yeah, and we do this with the ego, we do this with the spleen. And so all this theory that we are talking about becomes an embodiment. We embody the knowledge. It's in ourselves because anyway, human design is a system that works on the cellular level. Yeah, there's all the information, but you will see over time. I've seen this a lot. People sometimes like go into the human design knowledge and they hear, but they don't really go into the experiment. What does that mean? They don't stop listening to their mind. They don't start waiting, for the universe to push, like me as a manifester, or to respond, or waiting for an invitation. They don't wait. And so the knowledge doesn't bring you anything. If you're not in the experiment, then it becomes just another book in the spiritual, bookshelf. And then at some point, they either leave it or it's just like, oh, that's one of the things that I'm interested in. Yeah, human design. But human design is a mutation. It mutates your life. It brings satisfaction. It brings success. It brings peace. It does bring the confrontation with everything which is not that. That's one of the biggest thing that happens, and not only for open emotional, for everyone, that this confrontation with life and with all the forces that we deal with, what we call outer authority, what we call, conditioning, the conditions coming in and through our mind taking us out of ourselves, out of what the energy of our design is, of what is consistent in us, and getting lost in all this openness. Yeah, so we have to confront it. And when we feel it in the body, when we experience it, it's easier to confront because you start seeing what you're looking at. And the discernment of mind is easier. This is me. This is not me. This is mine. This is not mine. This is mind. Oh, this might be intuition. That hit in the now. And then the mind came in and told a story about that. I can see the difference. Or with emotional people, the wave, and you feel the wave in your body and you can see the story. If you know not to believe the story, then you notice, oh, I'm not going to believe this. And you start seeing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, blah, 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 story. And you stop listening to it and you go in the form and you start feeling in your body. And then the discernment starts to happen. So before we go into the types, do you want to say anything, Johan? Until now on everything that I said from your experience?
Yes, I see all this difference, we tried this experiment with manifestor generators and projectors, and we put them in three different groups. And it was very funny to see all this energy. Everybody was talking in the generators group, la, la, all this. And then we had 4 or 5 manifestors who went in the field and they all sat in this, yoga position of meditation. Nobody was speaking. They were just forming a circle and being there. And then there were projectors. We were in between and looking. What do
Mm.
this group do? What does this
Mm.
group do? What does this other
That's
group do?
nice.
So you just look, it was so beautiful to see, right? Because,
Yeah, that's a
and
good
yeah,
experiment.
and for me, it's also interesting to see how tired I am with, I teach classes and how much I can feel all this energy when I'm with generators and how much time it takes for me to get cleaned.
Yeah.
And I learned how to withdraw because it's too much. Sometimes it burns. It's it's really too much. Just a, very open projector. So without breaks, it's really difficult to face this. And for me, it's only about experience because I have only one in my chart, but a lot of threes. So,
Mm.
it's all about experimenting with it and a lot of twos. So I experimented naturally because otherwise I cannot go into this depths of detail just by, bumping into it. It's funny to look at it like this and to feel
Bumping
the
into it.
difference.
I love threes. They bump into things all the time, huh? They just go bumping around.
Yeah. And you can
She
also
knows it.
feel this interaction between us. You are like really this very, active element, like fiery, and I'm, the calming element. I'm not
Mm.
saying anything, just sitting here and waiting for the right time to say something. And I see also this, this difference, this dance between, emotional and spleen, how beautiful it is. My partner is emotional
Mm.
and we work together and I can see how people come to me to get calmed down. Everybody says, "You're so calm, you're so nice. Oh, how can you be so calm? How can you be so, easygoing?" But then, of course, they get sleepy because it's too much. And then they go to my wife, and she's this 3740, full of, emotions. And then you can see how nice they get involved in all this communication and emotions and dealing with each other and enjoying. And then
Mm.
they come to me and everybody's, oh, you know. Yeah, so it's beautiful to see it like this, right? Practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I said, I love what you said about the mind because, yeah, that's a beautiful definition. We come to human design and we imagine that we have to be projectors, that you have to get invited, but you don't know what invitation is. You imagine that everybody has to invite you or everybody has to see you. I'm a projector. My wife's have now has now to come and invite me. She knows
Mm.
I'm a projector. She should do it.
Mm.
Well, that's mind. So we
Yes.
have a different kind of, conditioning, more elevated, you know.
Yeah, and I'm going to take that point that you just made and take that into the conversation about the correctness of types because really what the way we can fall in the beginning of the experiment and even not only in the beginning is this pushing.
Mhm.
I mean, any way we push, right? And so when we go into human design, we try to do what we always did, which is push. We push human design, and that doesn't really work for us. But what does work for us, or at least in my experience, is being correct for ourselves. And this is what truly this is all about. So whatever you are, if you're a generator, you're a manifesting generator, you're a projector, you're a manifester, you have your strategy. And the strategy is the way to correct this. That's what it is. I mean, it's not only the way to move correctly in life to get, the job or whatever. It's in the daily life the correct way to interact in order to have harmony in your relationships, it is what it is. The strategy is what this is about. And strategy is not like, okay, when I make a big decision, what I'm going to work at, or who I'm going to marry, or if I'm going to bring kids into the world. No, strategy is a way of life. It's every moment. And, there's this conversation I had with Marianne. She said, um, that Ra would said about projectors that they only need, this was, I think, maybe more in the beginning. I don't know what he said in the end, but when you listen to Ra speak about projectors, he said, for the big things, wait for invitations, you know? And I have seen this over and over again in immersions, how important it is. And not only in immersions, in my life, but immersion is where I really, learned this. And then I learned to see it and look at it. How projectors can exalt in being a projector if they really wait for an invitation for everything, even to speak. Wait. Why? Because then they can be this light. When they're not trying to push it, they can be this light. And then people can see this light. But people don't see the light if you shove it in their face. They just want to they just want to push you away. Go away with this light. And I mean, you're seeing me. Did I ask you? Did I ask you to tell me everything you see? Did I ask you to ask me questions and tell me what you think that I need to do because you want to help me? Because projectors are so amazing. They see you and they want to help you, right? Because
Yes, of
they
course.
are. Wait, they're compassionate that way because they see it's their curse and it's their, and it's their blessing. And so for projectors to start waiting for the invitation in order to wait for the invitation, you got to go in. You got to go in there and you got to, it's Byron Katie has a beautiful sentence. There's a whole book called I Need Your Love. Is that true? This is a good question for projectors. I need your love. Is that true? Because, projector feels their aura goes out and it looks for that, that electricity, that going in so I can, get the energy. And it's not a bad thing to get the energy. This is how energy works. Projectors go in and they receive the energy and they see and they feel the direction and then they can direct. And this is why they can be so intimate. And this is why, we need them. Generators, most of all, more than anyone, need them. But if they can't, just be, and this is actually true for everyone, if we can't be, but like for manifestors, it's really easy because we don't have that much, that thing of I need your love. It's like, yeah, I don't need your love. I don't need your love. Is that true? That's the question for manifestors. Anyways, that's a joke. That being inside for projectors, within the yin in, the yang out, and the yang out for the projector needs to wait with the yin in. And then somebody comes and sees the light and invites that yang, yang, not yin. Actually, Americans say yang, but it's actually yang in Chinese. So we invite that yang, and then we invite the light. It's like the sun, right? The light. You invite it in. So the correctness of a projector, you don't need someone else to come to invite you. You're not waiting for that. You're waiting to be yourself. And how would you be yourself if you push? How would you be yourself if you're trying to stick that light into people's faces, So you remember that you're like a lighthouse, right? You say projector, what do you think about? A big, light, right? Projector. Lighting, guiding the way, right? And so you think of a lighthouse, it just stands there, it can't move. And the generators, the manifestor generators, they're like the boats, and there's most of them. Some of them are, generators, they're like more shanty boats with the sail, the sailboats. And then you have the MGs, they're the motorboats running around, crashing into each other, into the rocks, right? Kind of like this whole mess going on in the water, and the projectors watching this. And
Oh my God.
what breathe, breathe, Yon. And then if you just light your light, you just yourself, and you just see, you watch, you don't talk, you wait, then they're going to see the light because they're lost in the darkness, in the water, not knowing where to go. Why? Because they're not supposed to know where to go here. They're supposed to respond. And this is a very big difference between generators and between non-sacral beings. The way that we live with mind is different. I remember Marianne told me this one time we had dinner together, and she said, you projectors and manifestors, you can maybe get it from the mind. I mean, I did, right? I went to India. I got it here. It's not like I was living it, but I got it. She said, we generators, there's no way. It's only from the body. We got to respond. Why? There's this sacral. Listen, sacral, so powerful. If you feel the energy of the sacral, it's like, Ra said, like a black hole, right? You can feel it sucking. It's magnetizing the life force. It's so strong. It's much stronger than your mind. It's much stronger, by the way, than the channels of the motor going up to the throat. If you're a manifesting generator and your culture told you to think that manifestor is stronger and that you need to manifest. And it seems like it's easy for you, but you don't understand why when you're doing it, when you're initiating, it feels like you're pushing the world and on your energy, you finish it and then you start something, you do it fast and then you give up, and all that MG movie, right? Why? Because the sacral is much stronger. It pulls the energy in. The Buddha, right? The Buddha sucks the energy in, and then the manifestor in the images tries to go out, and the energy pulls him in. There's the sacral, man. It's the life, it's the life force. What's stronger than the force of life, right? Nothing. And if you have the root as well, oh my God, those are strong people. I'm married to one of those. Root and sacral, it's a lot of energy. And that energy is moving around. And the way that it moves, it's here to respond. So it's just kind of moving. And responding is something that is really, it's an everyday thing. It's not like when you say waiting for an invitation, you feel it, right? It's a deeper kind of waiting. But responding, that happens all the time. Why do you go pee? Because your bladder is full, right? Bladder is full. Your body gets up, goes to the toilet. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to put it in your calendar. I think at 9 o'clock I'm gonna go pee because at 9:30 I have a appointment, right? You don't do that. Why? Because life is responsive in nature and you trust it. Most generators, sacral generators, trust, and not only them, but with them, it's really strong. That let's say they are in a restaurant that they've never been at, maybe in a country that they've never traveled to, and there's exotic food. You take something from the menu, you have no idea what it's going to be. You trust your body, right? Sacral generators. Notice this. You trust your body that when you take it in, your body's either going to go, or it's going to go, ugh, right? Do you have to think about it? No, it's just natural. Your body's going to respond. It's going to tell you if it's good for it and it's available, the energy is available for it or not, ugh, right? This is life, actually. This is life. And response happens all the time. So if you're with people, you might be responding to people and you want them to ask. And this is where relationships can really be correct, right? If you ask generators, And they don't have to know that they're generators, by the way. If you're generators, if you are generators, you can ask people to ask you. They don't have to know why you ask them to ask you. You know, someone picks up the phone, calls you, and you say, "Hey, can you ask me if I'm free to talk? Are you free to talk?" No, sorry. Can you call me later? Everything becomes so easy, right? You can ask them to ask you. If they think you've gone crazy, they say, what's up? Everything okay? Uh-huh, actually really good. Really? Yeah. Well, do you want to share? Uh-huh. You sure? Do you sure you want to hear about it? There's this thing called human design. I know I have to do and my life is fixed. Then you get all the generators in, you know? Easy. One generator generating correct life force. It is so amazing, let me tell you, really correct generators with the correct sacral energy. You know, that satisfaction is actually when I feel it, you know, when I feel it in people around me that are correct, generators that are correct, for me, it feels like happiness. It's like the bubbling of life, you know, happy, just happy, content to be alive, you know, alive, not, there doesn't necessarily have to be anything happening very special or important for life to be exalted in its own being alive, right? You can see the birds, they're singing on the trees, nothing is happening. I mean, they're not changing the world or anything, they're just singing. This is life, right? That's how I feel correct generators are. They're like, you know, it's just life, satisfied. And so asking generators questions, of course, if you're a projector, you don't want to just, you know, go in and ask them questions. You want to wait for an invitation. That's practical. So you'd be taking a step back. And in the beginning, you can inform, you can say, hey, you know what, I'm feeling I don't need to initiate so much, and I love you, but I'm not going to call you anymore. So please, if you feel that you want to talk to me, I would love it if you know, contact me. They go, okay. Well, the ones that love you, they will, you know, they will start inviting you, and they will start feeling that it's actually much better when they invite you. But when they invite you, if they're generators and they call and you say, hey, do you want to go for a cup of coffee? You say, well, do you want to? Is it correct for you? You feel like it? Do you have the energy for it? Or whatever you want to ask them. I ask no question. You see how easy it is being practical? Because it's just practice. You put it to the practice. If you understand the mechanics and you take it to the next level of, you know, practicing it, then relationships have, you know, they have a pattern actually, which is correct for them. So now you see the pattern between a generator and a projector is this. And this is something that we do in immersion that I really love, you know, putting a projector and a generator one in front of the other and practicing what it feels like when the communication is not correct. You can feel it in the body. I'm not talking only about the people doing this. All the circle around, you can feel what incorrectness feels like. You can feel the bitterness of the projector not being seen when they try to initiate. And you can see the generator going, you know, because that aura just, and you can see them kind of close. Sacral can close, and you can see them try to be nice. Oh, yeah, sure, you can ask them questions, and you see the body, And what are you going to listen to? You know? Are you going to keep listening to mine, being nice, saying, yeah, this is what we need to do, what we don't need to do, what we want, what we don't want, blah, 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 blah. Didn't take us anywhere. 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I don't know how, you know, how long you were on a planet before human design came into your life. We tried that, right? So this is different. We're going to listen to the body. And then you start feeling what the body feels like when an invitation comes. If you wait long enough, you have to wait. I can tell you as a manifester, I waited in the beginning for clarity, for the universe to push me. I cried. I would just cry of anger because once I stopped, I started feeling the anger in my body that was there, for years of moving incorrectly with people around me. Even though I was pretty much a manifester because, I have the 2212 channel. It's a manifester channel and it's in my black chart, meaning it's, what I think I am. So I knew I'm a manifestor without giving it a name in a way. And I was manifesting and initiating things. But oh my God, I initiated so many things that were totally incorrect for me, you know, and initiating way too much, working way too much. I was a super slave. Talk about open sacral. Oh my God. And I never worked for anyone. I mean, I was my own boss, but actually my mind was my boss. And that was cruel. I mean, my open root was my boss. You need to do this and this and this and this and this. And why aren't you doing it? You have to do it. Well, do it tomorrow. Did you do it today? No, do it tomorrow. That was my boss, my open roots and my open heart. But you promised, you said you're going to do that. You have to do that. What are you going to take for that? you know, how much are you going to earn? Does she earn more than you? Oh my God, it's funny now that I think about it, but it wasn't funny at the time, when I was totally moved out of my open centers. And then I started waiting as a manifestor to wait. It's like, what are we waiting for? You know, just go. You have all this energy to do. I mean, we're designed to do. And then suddenly I stopped because I didn't want to do from the wrong place. And I used to cry. I used to call my friend, my projector friend, which I initiated her giving me a chart. So she has a 2551. So she was my initiator into the knowledge, yeah, from the initiating channel of initiation. And I would call her and say, what kind of a manifestor am I? I'm not doing anything. I'm just waiting. I don't know what I'm waiting for. you know, I'm just sitting here. Nothing's happening. Oh my God, it was so difficult. And if we talk about relationships, wow, to start informing, to wait to inform out of my emotions, that meant I had to shut up, you know, to wait, shut up when I feel like I'm going to tell him this and that. I'm going to divorce him now, angry manifestor. Do we have some manifesto women here? I see some of you are laughing too hard. No. And then, going, no, you're waiting for clarity. Wait. And breathing, right? The dragon breathing. Yes, Gabriela says. Okay, good. Breathing, waiting. And then informing. And the first times that I would inform, and it was really out of my emotional center, out of my emotional clarity, that was devastating in my relationship. Why? Because he wasn't used to it. It seems like you're perfectly describing myself, she said. Yeah. I mean, it was devastating. Why? Because it seemed like there was no impact coming back because he didn't know we say in Hebrew, he didn't know how we say, digest me, right? I mean, something totally new was coming. I was mutated and I was talking differently and acting differently and bringing a different energy. He didn't know what to do with that. And so I was informing out of my clarity, and it was like nothing, like I was out in space, like an astronaut, not connected to anything. Manifestors, our question is, what is my impact? If there's no impact, I'm just nothing. No open space. It was difficult. And then slowly, slowly informing that I'm going to inform. Informing that I need to know what the impact is, informing that I'm going to take my time until I talk. Until then, I'm sorry. I'm going to be silent. And I'm sorry, if that drives me crazy because he wants to know what I'm feeling now because he's afraid, because he's a generator, sacral generator, no emotion. He's feeling my emotion. And I'm a 5-1 single definition, pure individual manifester. He didn't know what that means, but he sure knew that I can get up one moment and say, bye, I'm out the door, which is what I am. And so all that comes up. And this fears came up in him, even though he wasn't in his experiment. But I was now bringing this. He had to confront it, right? And this is what happens. So the people in your life that are your children, your parents, your spouses, your whatever, your everything, your partners in life. Yeah. Once you go in the experiment for real and you start, changing, this aura starts vibrating a different frequency. In a way, they go into the experiment without choosing it. No choice. If they chose you, then somehow, by the grace of the program, they chose the experiment. In some years, they will thank you for that, as my husband thanks me, but it took you some years. Today he thanks me, and he will say it out loud. If you ask him, he would say, yeah, it's amazing. No, where it took her. But in the beginning, oh my God, no, it was war. So it's not easy in the beginning, and it takes time. It's not easy because it's not easy inside of ourselves, right? And what is inside of ourselves is anyway what is out there. And so when we start, I say being in peace, but this is I'm a manifestor, right? For some of you, it will be satisfaction, being satisfied with your energy, or being, success is sweet. So you start feeling the sweetness of your own energy before you start feeling the sweetness of others when they invite you. If you invite yourself into yourself to wait for an invitation, you're going to start, feeling that sweetness, but you're going to start to feel the bitterness that you haven't been noticing for all those years. When you stop as a generator, you're going to start feeling the frequency of being stuck like you've never had before. The frequency of frustration, Manifestors, when you stop listening to your mind when it tells you what to do, you start waiting for the universe to push you from inside, you're going to start feeling the anger. And when people come towards you, it's going to be quite a trip to feel that. And knowing you have to say, you know what? Maybe wait for me to come over to you to inform. So each of us, when we stop here, we start being correct in our relationships, but not necessarily that it's going to be feeling like correctness, or it's not going to be, it's not going to feel good in the beginning. It's okay. And most of you, maybe you already experiencing this, yeah? Are you experiencing this? Yeah, okay. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. And so we take it into the lab. And when we feel it with each other in a safe place, where we all know, okay, I'm a projector, I'm a manifestor, you're a generator, all that, then we can really confront it. And we can get the practical way out, and we can try the practical way out together. So what happens for projectors in a circle when they start waiting for the invitation? What happens for the generators when they start waiting for, to respond in the circle? In the immersion, we start to practice that. And for manifestors to inform before we speak. So this is what we're going to be doing in immersion. We're going to be experiencing this practicality of relationships. We're going to be experiencing in the form, in the body, what the difference is, how it feels when we're correct, when we're not correct. And we're also going to be doing some cool stuff with the um, inner authority, like sacral sessions for the sacrals and informing sessions for the manifestors. And for projectors, I have something for the splenic ones and something for the emotional ones and the emotional generators and etc. etc. So I think I talked about the practicality of the relationships of every type, right? Maybe not reflectors, but we don't have.
Reflectors not. Mhm.
Yeah, reflectors basically, I don't know, changes all the time. I've been studying this for 12 years. Um, I think now that the last few months I have been more correct than ever. Than I started being I started really feeling what the correctness of reflector is. It's just a reflection of your correctness back at you. This is where it's reflectors are really amazing. So maybe I stopped talking now. I talked a lot. And Johan, if you have anything to say or ask or reflect upon that, and then if anyone else has questions.
Yeah, you talk about projectors being, the lighthouses, and about, this being invited always and always and always. And yes, that is also my experience. Uh, and I loved, this, if you want to have success, shut the fuck up. Because the moment that you shut up and listen and you observe, you start to see. And
Hmm.
then it's easy to guide because you start to see. It's not wasting your time, it's just, directing your energy toward what's important. And then it's
Yes.
easy to have success.
Yes, it's so beautiful that you talk about it that way because the aura is a focus, right? And so,
Yes.
how can the aura focus correctly if there's not this waiting? Because when the mind tries to focus, his mind doesn't know. But it's like when you're silent, then the aura focuses, right? And you were talking, and I could see the energy in a way of what you're saying. And that when you're focused correctly, because the aura is focused, and they see you seeing, because you're like the Sphinx, your gaze is like,
Yeah.
and you don't
Oh,
know that as projectors, right? I can tell you because I see you guys.
yes, and it's, you know, people always, or many times I see people confusing our auras, my aura of a projector with the aura of manifester.
Hmm.
But they are so different because we are the nosy ones. You are not.
Hmm.
We are the nosy ones. You want to get in, you want to get in, and you push it and you push it, and it's really damaging for you and for the others. So if you want to see the people that are the most, sticking their, nose in everything, it's not manifestors, it's projectors. And it's so painful because then you experience actually with energy that is not for you. That's the main problem.
No.
You take in things that are really dangerous for your system. So
Yeah,
yes,
you speak from the spleen, right? So,
yes, and
and
also,
we start, and this is another thing. Sorry that I interrupt you, but this is another thing that happens. We start hearing the keynoting, right? Because when people speak, what you're
Mhm.
hearing is their chart speaking, you know? I
Yes.
mean, even if you listen to Ra, he's
Mhm.
speaking a splenic ego, 5-1, single definition, pure individual, integrative manifestor. He's not speaking all manifestors. He's speaking that, And if you listen to an emotional manifester
Yes.
speaking, that sounds different. If you listen to Johan, which is a splenic manifester, and he talks, like that,
Projector.
a
Projector.
projector, sorry,
Yeah.
projector. Or you listen to an emotional projector, it sounds so different. And you can hear it in the words and you can hear it in the frequency. And this is another thing that happens in immersion, that people are speaking and you don't have to know all their chart, but you know that there are, generators and the sacral generators or emotional generators. You start hearing the differences and you start knowing to notice that in your world. You start to see the colors coming out. You start to hear the keynoting words, like Johan said, you taking things that are not healthy for you. That's his spleen speaking, you know?
Yes. But
So that,
also, it's about, you know, projectors are really taking in the whole energy of the other.
yeah.
And mostly if you're not splenic and you are you are emotional, then you're open, in your spleen. You can really take people in your life that are not really healthy for you. And
Yes,
that's
of
also very
course.
damaging.
Of course.
And it's, and it's good when you start to see frequencies, but then it's sad when you see distorted frequency.
Yeah.
And
But you have to
that's,
see that in order to understand that it's distorted.
yes, yes.
Do we want to give some time for questions? Does anybody have questions? This was
Gabriela, I
different last
think.
time. Who?
Gabriela, you had
Gabriela?
your hand
No,
up.
I hide it just to confirm something that Babaka said. I don't have any question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if anybody wants to inform something or ask something, share something.
Mm. If not, maybe I would like to say a few things about the organization because many people who are here will be there. There is this question that comes up when it will start. It will always be from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock with a break of 2 hours, Friday,
2 hours?
Saturday,
No.
Sunday.
We're gonna do a short break in the morning, then 1 hour break, and then another short break.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. It's good that
That
you're
way we
saying.
don't go too long and we have a long enough break for like eating or yeah.
Yes, okay,
Okay.
good. But the problem is 10 to 4
Yeah.
with the small break and then with a larger break for lunch and then we come back. Okay. It's in Ambient Hotel in Brasov. What else? If you need, I don't know, transportation, then to get to Brasov. If you're not from Romania, then the best way is to go by train from Bucharest. So fly to Bucharest and then from Bucharest by train. What else? Um, I don't know. Do you, do you have anything to share with them? Some organizational stuff, maybe, Pavaka, some other things? What to have with us? Maybe if we need, I don't know, shoes, some kind of shoes
Mm.
or
Shoes?
yeah, inner, some, because I don't know about this stuff. If we need some, to have special inside shoes or whatever we
Ah,
need to.
no, and everybody needs to be comfortable. So whatever is comfortable for you to wear, and if you like to ride, I'm not teaching. Immersion is not about that, but I know some people like to ride, so you can have something to ride with. But basically, just come as you are, and that's it. I'm gonna make name tags for you um, with your type and your authority. And so we're going to see, and you already you already had did everybody get the email that I sent with a list of everyone? Okay, great. So you already saw that we are a few manifestors, a few projectors, which is nice, you know. Not, yeah, I mean, statistically, we have an interesting group, and again,
You mean,
we have one reflector that is coming in as well. Maybe more will come. I don't know.
you mean quite a
Um,
few projectors and quite a few manifestors?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it was interesting. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking for the details, maybe you know, if you have any practical questions, we can do that in the event page.
Mhm.
Um, right?
Yes. What?
Except for the place and the time, and I think this is that's all the knowledge that I think is
What?
important.
So, questions, if you have, send them to me or to Pavaka, but mainly to me if they are not really uh, life-threatening events.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Better, better,
Okay.
better send it to you.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
great. So,
Just a
I'm
minute.
very excited already. It's like now that I think about it, we're in 20 days, right? Less even. Today's
Yes.
September, so we meet very soon, and it's exciting, and I'm happy. And I'm happy that I got to see some of you before. That's cool. And if you have friends that are interested, they're still welcome. We still have space, just for you to know. You're most invited to invite. It's very nice to have your community with you, and after that, to have this, you know, this new language to speak together with the people that you love. And that's it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have a good night, good evening. Thank you very much. I'm happy that it was
Thank you.
interesting for you. See you
Yes.
soon.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.